It's been a week since I had spinal fusion surgery on L5 to decompress both the front and the back portion of L5 of my spine, and I think they corrected the scoliosis down there because, like, why would you if you were going to go in there and not do that? They also did a microdiscectomy, which means that they removed part of it. Sorry, that's my cell phone going off. And that's my cell phone going off again. I think it's Jordan. And I just kind of wanted to make a, hopefully, because I tend to be long-winded, brief video commemorating it being 1 week since I went in. This time last week, I was waking up at 3 a.m., taking my second medicated wash with the body wash they gave me from the hospital on my incision sites, which is both the front, so like my abdomen in the front and the back, right? And L5 is your lumbar, which in non-scientific or medical terms is your lower back. Okay, so I had to take that shower, and then by 5 a.m., it could have been 5:30, but we got there at 5 a.m. I went in and I scanned my little wristband that I was wearing in my last video, and I registered, being like, "Hello, I'm here." And then surgery hadn't opened yet, so I went over to surgery, and yeah, everybody was really nice. And I went back in there, and on the way into the surgery, on the way to the hospital. I'm sorry, it's been a long week. On the way into the hospital, Frank Sinatra was playing on Sirius's Holiday Station, and it was the Christmas Waltz, which is one of my favorite pop culture Christmas songs. And I know that, like any famous person, Frank is very controversial, but he's also one of my favorite singers of all time. And so when that came on the radio, like as we were going past downtown and Fremont Street Experience, going towards the hospital, like the Shadow Lane kind of medical district, I was like, okay, everything's gonna be okay, because it's silly, but when you're in that situation, you're like, oh my gosh. If something that you really love randomly plays, you're like, okay, we got this. So, I have a claw behind here, so if it keeps bobbing up and down, that's what that is. Don't worry, I didn't cut my hair off, but if I did, like, who cares? It's my business, not yours. Uh, but yeah, so I went in, and they took good care of me. I got the getting all prepped before, they put the IVs in your hand and all that sort of thing. And the anesthesiologist was trippy, like they normally are, which means you're in good hands. I don't know what it is about them. They're just usually kind of trippy people. And I mean that in like an affectionate way, not a critical one. So I was starting to really freak out. There was one other thing that happened. So when somebody left, my curtain was kind of pulled. And when somebody left, there was a stack of papers right on this little like portable wheelie desk at the foot of my bed. And this is before I go in for surgery. And I saw something like pick up the papers, flip through them, and drop it. And didn't have anything connected to me yet. And I'm like, okay, good, this is great, I'm hallucinating. And then I remembered that it was Grandpa Steve's birthday. December 11th is his birthday when I went into surgery. And my Aunt Louisa, my tia, has his ashes, and then Grandma Pauline's ashes over at her house. And when I realized that, like, my brain was like, on the off chance it is Grandpa, happy birthday, Grandpa. Just kind of like, it's probably like, kid, what are you doing in here? You shouldn't be in here. But yeah, so that happened. That was really trippy to see. Before I went in, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going in alone. And I was starting to freak out when they wheeled me in to go into surgery, and this time I'm, all hooked up with the IVs and stuff, because I wasn't out yet, and normally in my experience, I had been put out before we got that far. And so they like wheel me into the room they're going to do the surgery in, and I am fully awake. And they transfer me onto the table they're going to operate on me on, and I see x-rays out of the corner of my eye lining the wall, and realize that they're all x-rays of me. And I'm just like, oh my god, like, this is really happening. And I'm doing my best not to freak out, because again, I'm still not out. And they see that I'm kind of freaked out, and they're like, "Oh no, don't worry. Like we haven't put in the stuff yet, and the stuff works like really fast. You'll be fine." And I was like, "Okay." Like if I was a person who hadn't had surgery before, I would be like, "Really?" and kind of cynical and freaked out at that statement. But because I know that that's a thing, that there are cocktails that work that fast, I'm like, okay. They noticed that I was starting to freak out visually because I didn't say anything, and then reassured me. So that's better than nothing. But you keep this in mind. This is after they had transferred my body onto the table, and we're starting to, they grabbed my arm and did this and strapped it in, and then they were grabbing my other arm and strapping it in. So I was like, yeah, this is better that you say that now than later. But I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And by the time I was trying to say thank you, my words totally slurred and I blacked out. And I woke up, and oh man, did my stomach hurt. Because remember, they cut me open in the front, in the abdomen, and the lower abdomen, and in the back, in the lower back. So I had 2 incisions to heal from in this surgery. And I've been sliced in the back 2 times in my life. One almost the entire spine. The other time was just for L5. This time was also for L5. And then some of the other discs that were scolified that needed to be like this. And no, not like Scully from X-Files, like scoliosis and scoliosis. I wish it was Scully from X-Files. Yeah. Anyway, and it's been weird. Everybody was really nice. I had maybe 1 or 2 people who were kind of, but I think that's because overwork. Like, let me put it this way, had it been any other patient, I think they would have been the same way. I don't think it was like directed at me entirely. And physical therapy went really well. They had an option for aromatherapy, so they had actually aromatherapy. They had a diffuser on our floor. I was on floor 3, which apparently used to be their maternity ward, which is why the rooms are so massive. It's kind of cool. I had a really nice room. And my parents stayed with me all of the nights because they really didn't want to leave me there. And it took me a while to finally start to pass gas. I know that's TMI, but anybody who's done anything with medical, not fun stuff understands how important it is that after a surgery that you do that, because it means your digestive system is waking up, right? The only other thing that's as important is, again, TMI, finally going number 2, right? Which still hasn't happened, but I think it will soon. I think that was mainly due to the fact they were giving me a lot of medicine that stops you up, right? Can do that, and unfortunately that's what they have to do in order for you to not feel like, all the pain full throttle and being like, oh my god, like kind of thing. So, it's been okay. Emotionally, it's been a roller coaster ride. I felt very optimistic. I'd make jokes about my braces with, my brace with the, I have it on actually right now, my back brace with the people would come and help me to the restroom and back and stuff because they can't have you walking alone. I had to have, and I still should really have somebody walk with me most of the time, even though now I'm able to get up and around the house and stuff, and I can do that on my own, but I have to be careful because if I get really tired like I am right now, then it's easier for me to make a mistake and then, like fall, and I don't want to do that. So I'm trying to think. There was like a bunch of things I was going to say about the hospital stay and I can't remember now. Just know that watching White Christmas, when you originally wanted to watch that with your parents on the big screen because your family's weird and they like old movies, and then accidentally not getting to see it at the Fathom events, but seeing it in your hospital bed on American Movie Classics channel is really trippy, especially when you're coming out of surgery and you're like laying there drugged up and they're like, so it was interesting. I didn't have any spooky visitors like when I was 12 years old and they had me on morphine, because I've been on morphine for like about a week now. Yeah. So when I was little, I thought I saw the Grim Reaper in my room, in my hospital room, when I was 12, and it really stayed with me and scared the hell out of me. I hate that drug. Anyone who's like, oh man, I want to try that, I'm like, no, you don't. Like, you don't. This time it's been more like I had a lot of, the thing with that kind of thing is you have a lot of the waking dreams where it starts to become difficult to tell if you're awake or asleep. Even when things are like super fantastic and ordinarily your brain would be like, no, that's ridiculous. This isn't awake. You know, what are you talking about? It's like that whole reasoning thing goes away and your brain's just like, ooh, like it's really malleable. That sense of time and space is really malleable, and so are all your senses, and it's really, oh, it's spooky. It can be really spooky. So it's not that I didn't have any spooky visitors. It's really more like I had pretty intense dreams, but this time I went in with what I tend to believe in, that I've cultivated since then, and I felt more prepared to deal with it. And without getting too preachy or weird about it, uh, it's been good so far. I've been protected and I feel good about it. So, yeah, that's been good. Drugs are weird, man. So anyway, I'm really tired right now. I had a full day. I'm trying to do what they told me to do, which is 2 physical therapy walks every day, and eat right. Don't sit up too long. Don't stand too long. Don't walk too long. Don't lay down too long. But the good news is that I'm off of one of the things right now, and I may have to go back on it when I run out of this morphine, because morphine is a hell of a drug, and God, just, excuse me, it also can cause indigestion and stuff. But then I'm on muscle relaxers more now, because it's really, really what I need, because what happens, right, is your muscles have been, like, messed with. They're all traumatized. They're like, dude, you sliced through me. What are you doing? And so they do this, and they just tighten, and you're trying to get them to be like, take a deep breath, muscles, just relax. Just chill out. It's okay. You can heal. Promise. So my body's been good. I actually was discharged from the hospital early. I was discharged Friday evening, and that was up to me. I could have stayed until Saturday, but they were so impressed with how I was doing. They were just like, oh, you don't really need to be here. I mean, unless you're really concerned about not having a bowel movement, which you can take care of at home and not here. And I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of don't like having, like IVs in, both of my hands, but only one being hooked in. You guys keep switching them over and being injected with painful stuff, and I'd kind of rather just go home. So they did discharge me. There was a problem with that. The person that was there that day, who was my nurse, normally isn't assigned to that floor. And she kept taking the computer out of 2 of the rooms, and I know this because the LVN was ticked off the whole day. She's really sweet. I loved the LVN. I was so grateful that she was my LVN that day. But so she was ticked off because the computers kept disappearing out of like 2 of the rooms, because this lady who normally doesn't work that floor kept walking off with them. And so she was irritated at her. And it was hard for, let me put it this way. This lady redresses my wounds before I go home and shows Dad how to do it. And I'm vaguely aware of how to do it. Enough so that I was able to do it Saturday when I took a shower. But my discharge folder, no one talked to me about the medicines, like they prescribed them to me, and they're supposed to go over with you when the last time was that you took them, etc., 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 so when you go home, you know when to start taking each one of them. No one did that basic thing. There must have been 40 pages in there, which, let's be completely honest, is really, and it should be in there, I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but it's really just legalese about, oh, these are, 2 of these are opioids, and you need to not abuse them, and blah, 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 and these can kill you, and blah, blah, which they can. I mean, it's a drug. I mean, what you don't have, like, I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's a drug. You don't have to state that. But they do, because people, apparently, I'm not going to pretend I've lived those people's lives or anything either, understand them, so whatever. But I was really ticked off because we were so excited for me to go home with that basic thing. And my dad kept fixating on the surgical dressings for me bathing, and he kept fixating on it. My dad does have obsessive compulsive disorder. This is legit. Okay, he kept wanting to go over it. So he was really afraid of hurting me, right, or doing anything wrong. And it was good that he went over it because I have to do the front one because the front one's too low for my dad to help me. And so that kind of was really messed up because it's like, hey, this is basic that a patient should be going home with when they last took all these medicines, so when they get them filled at their pharmacy that day, they can go ahead and start taking them and safely know how to take them. It had all this in there about how dangerous they were, and they didn't tell me when the last one was taken. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I have ever, what the hell? So that nurse epically failed in that department, or whoever was who's supposed to talk to me about that, didn't. And the other thing that they didn't do is they didn't have anybody come by and talk to me about the money part of it. And now it's Tuesday, and I'm going to give them until tomorrow because I know I checked out late on a Friday and they might be backlogged, and I understand that. But I'm a little irritated because it's like, you were supposed to probably have somebody talk to me about my bill too. And it says in the discharge stuff that somebody's supposed to call you 24 to 48 hours afterwards. I haven't gotten a single call. And I know all my information's correct because I have copies of the stuff I gave them, and my phone number is the correct thing on there. And I'm like, what? So on the good news front, I was able to get other business done today, such as paying my January health insurance premium, making room for payments for the place that I go for my spine doctor, which is good. I'm gonna make sure he gets paid, right? I want to make sure everybody gets paid. And then what else did I do? I did one other thing today. It was really early this morning, so my brain's like, oh yeah, that's right. And my student loan people, even though the forbearance didn't go through and I had all that drama happen when I was at the hospital about it, apparently right now they have a 24-hour thing that shows, hey, we're about to come out with your quarterly account summary, which is normal. And when I logged in today, it showed that the ones that I had been really worried about, those loans were all on deferment. So tomorrow I need to call all of them and be like, hello, did you really grant me deferment? You know, because that would be a great Christmas gift. So happy thoughts. So those were good things that happened today. I'll take what I can get, yeah. So otherwise, I was discharged Friday evening, like I said. Normally I would have been discharged Monday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, but they were actually planning in their initial surgical plans to keep me there until Monday. Anyway, he came in and he talked to me, and he was just like, you were doing so well, like, he's like, and I mean, he's done thousands of these surgeries, and he's like, you're doing so well, he's like, he just was like, almost like a loss for words, and he's like, do you want to go home? And I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, we'll get you home. And he said, and I said, and before he left, I said, Dr. Lean, he's like, what? And I was like, thank you. And he looked at me and he's like, you're such a sweetheart. And he just left. He's like, oh. And apparently, like, yeah, there were several people at that hospital who were really, really, really sweet. So despite that fiasco at the end where basic medical information was not provided, basic billing information was not provided, and I've been out since Friday and it's now Tuesday and no one's called me from the hospital at all, aside from the anesthesiologist sending me a thing saying, hey, how did I do? Please fill out the survey. That's it. I haven't heard anything from the hospital. So aside from those issues, everybody at the hospital was fantastic. I had a good stay. It was a nice facility. I was taken care of very well. And I just can't say that enough. I really like a lot of people that took care of me and worked with me, and they were just great. I can't really say anything more than that. They were great. So that aside, I've been slowly descending into like my heavy brow status here because I don't want to pluck because plucking leaves open things here, and I don't want to do that while I'm recovering. I just started retaking my multivitamins today. I called the pharmacist yesterday and was like, hey, can I retake these or start taking them again? Because I need to, and I also am a seasonal asthmatic. Can I take albuterol in case of emergency? And they were like, oh yeah, and they like checked all the dosage of what I'm taking that the hospital gave me and the dosage of what I normally take that's home. It's just really vitamins and albuterol. And they were like, everything's fine. You can go ahead and start taking those. So it's good news. I use the vitamins to kind of, like a lot of people, right, fill in some weaknesses that my systems have to help strengthen me more.